Welcome to the first edition of After the Whistle. I'm Maitland Moselle.
And I'm Patrick Mass.
For tonight's show, we have highlights of the weekend's track and field and hockey contests, as well as an exclusive interview with Detroit Red Wings head coach and former Grand Rapids Griffins coach, Jeff Blashill.
We also have highlights of a Q&A session with GVSU alumnus and Fox Sports Detroit host John Keating. And later in the show, GVSU club rugby player Louie will be joining us.
After the Whistle reporter Natalie Longroy traveled to Hockeytown this week for an exclusive interview with Detroit Red Wings head coach Jeff Blashill. With the season over the hump and the playoffs within view, Coach Blashill gave his take on the team's chance to extend the playoff streak another year.
It's an everyday grind. Our approach from the beginning of the year has been let's learn from the day before and let's get better the next day, and that's been our approach. And then every single game we really have a short-term outlook of trying to win that game at hand, have a singular focus of winning that game, learn from it, maybe show some clips, do some video, and then put it behind us and let's move forward and try to win the next game. But it's an everyday grind in this league. We understand that you're a runaway. By a run, I mean a number of games won in a row away from being where you want to be as a hockey team, but you're also a bad run away from not being where you want to be. So we just got to keep
Before his now two-season run with the Red Wings, Blashill was head coach right here in Grand Rapids for our own Grand Rapids Griffins. He shared how much he appreciated his time here.
Well, I love Grand Rapids as a city first and foremost, and I love where I'm at now in Plymouth. I live in Plymouth here in Detroit, and downtown Detroit's great right now, but Grand Rapids was a great spot to live for the 3 years we were there. I think it's one of the neatest cities really in the U.S. I think it's a great mid-sized town. It's a place I'm proud that I spent time there.
The GV men's track and field team won their third meet of the season, and the women's claimed their second win as well. But for many, the focus was on former athletes. The Alumni Meet gives former athletes like Ethan Barnes a chance to compete again. Our Connor Pena has more on Barnes and this event.
And that event is the 4x300, where former GVSU students and their children race around the track 4 times in a relay. Lucky for them, it wasn't the 800-meter run, where Ethan Barnes currently holds the GVSU record. I spoke with a former teammate of Ethan's, Ben Tanis, about what Ethan was like in practice.
He always made sure that we had everything that we needed, and I would say that he was a good leader off the track too, because he was probably one of the smartest guys. He won the award at the national championship meet for the athlete with the highest GPA. It was like 3.9 or something out of all the athletes at nationals, so he was a good leader for tons of different parts of being a college athlete.
And while he was not victorious in the 4x3, Ethan spent most of his time catching up with former friends and teammates from GVSU. And I asked Ethan what it felt like to finally come back.
Yeah, it's always fun to come back. I've been pacing a couple races. I'm going to pace the 800 after this, but it's a lot of fun to just see my friends and teammates be able to race again on the track, just kind of for fun. It's kind of less scary and less pressure, obviously. So it's kind of fun to come back.
Then I asked Ethan what it felt like to break the 800-meter run record.
It feels kind of cool. I mean, it's kind of bittersweet. I set it my junior year, so I went 2 years without breaking my own record. But it's definitely kind of a humbling experience to be able to, from freshman year coming into such a big school and such a scary team with so many fast people. It's pretty special to be able to kind of join them in that rank.
GVSU's next track and field meet will be Friday, February 3rd in South Bend, Indiana.
We moved to the ice, where GVSU men's Division II club hockey team hosted Michigan State on Friday, January 27th at Georgetown Ice Center. It turned out to be a huge win for the Lakers as they continued their great form. GVSU forward Mitch Claggett opened the scoring halfway into the first period. Colin Finkhouse doubled the lead later in the period as GVSU took a 2-0 lead, ending the first period. After MSU pulled one back, the Lakers scored 4 unanswered to make the score 6-1. The Lakers' offense was in full throttle as they put 10 past the visiting Spartans. GVSU head coach Mike Forbes was happy with his team's performance.
Well, obviously with 10 goals, we had a great offensive performance, and that was really good to see. We've struggled at times to create offense with our team this year, and tonight it seemed to all come together. We've had several of those games since we come back after Christmas where we've been able to put up good offensive numbers, and tonight was a lot of fun for everybody in front of that crowd, and to be able to perform like that, I think was a lot of fun for the players and rewarding for the coaches.
Friday's game was also a benefit for ACHA referee and West Michigan native Dave Rue, who is battling lung cancer.
Dave has been a fixture for a long time, and somebody that we've known here, and he's been a real friend for Grand Valley hockey. And I'm sorry for the emotion. I don't know where that came from, but honestly, he's worked a lot of our mini camps in the summer. He's been a good friend of this program. He's a good friend of hockey in West Michigan, and the fact that our guys did that is really touching.
Benefit raised over $750. The Lakers will look to carry the momentum from Friday's big win as they travel to Southern Illinois for a doubleheader this weekend.
Now, we'd like to welcome GVSU club rugby player Louie Ricard to the show. Ricard, a junior for France who now lives in Troy, Michigan, is here to talk with us about his success at GVSU.
Thanks for joining us, Louie.
Thank you for having me.
So, how long have you been playing rugby?
Oh gosh, it goes a while back. I started when I was 6 years old, I believe, so it's going to be about 15 years now. My 15th year, yeah.
So, I understand you actually went to school for rugby? Tell us about that.
I did. So, in France, we don't really go to college for sports. We don't really get scholarships for that. We go to high school for it. So what they did in France when I was about 15, they held tryouts for 8th graders. I think I was 14 or 15. And after these tryouts, we were able to maybe get into the rugby prep school that they had, which hosted about 2,000 people, and each one of them were playing different sports at a really high level. So through these 3 years of high school, you could potentially go pro after high school if you graduated. The problem is that the level is so high that I could not keep up with the grades and the rugby, and I wasn't fit enough to play rugby for my whole life. So they kindly asked me to leave, and I completely understood, because the level is so high at that point. It's like going to a D1 college to play football, and sometimes you cannot make the cut because you cannot handle it. But the year that I had there was really fun, and I learned so much that I can actually I can actually retain that information and actually play with the knowledge I've had over the years here.
So what made you decide to come to Grand Valley and play rugby for the club team?
Well, I came to Grand Valley just based on the academics, because I really was interested in the programs they offered there, and the cost of it was pretty cheap for what I wanted, so it was great. But the rugby part of it was kind of a bonus, because I was not supposed to play rugby here. I didn't really want to. But I had a couple of friends that I played rugby with back in high school when I was an exchange student in Troy High on the east side. And they asked me to come play and try out for one practice. And I was like, you know what, this could actually be fun, get involved in a club, meet new people, get involved in the club life. And after the first practice, I really fell in love with the team, with the atmosphere, with the coach. Everything was there that I needed, and I really enjoyed spending time with those guys. So I kind of kept coming back, and sure enough, I just played there for now it's my 3rd year here. Yeah.
And what position do you play, Louie?
I play fly half. So it's I'm kind of I guess you could say I'm the equivalent of the quarterback for a football team. I'm usually take care of calling the plays, getting it to the backs or to the forwards. And I also can kick during the game. Rugby is kind of a mix of soccer and football. But there's no timeout, so there's no time for per play. It's you keep going, it's always continuing, which I love about. And so fly half, I love doing that because it allows me to kind of direct the field, and I see kind of everything and what's going on. And I'm really vocal too, so it kind of fits everything that my personality reflects. So it's good.
And how's the season going?
Well, last season was a competitive season, the fall season. It went fairly well. We qualified for the playoffs, and we had to play in before getting there. We unfortunately lost that game against Illinois State. I believe it was 41-17, so it was a pretty tough loss for us. But it just like kind of like motivated us like to come back in the spring and practice even harder to get ready for the next season, because we found out that we didn't lose because we were the worst team, but because like we actually like let them win really, and we can do way better than that. So like, you know, we kind of have that bitter taste in our mouth, and we kind of want to erase it and you know, like look toward the future and look for like progress in our team.
So lately in the news, there's been a lot of talk about President Trump's new policies on immigration ban.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about any of this?
Well, as a foreign student, I'm kind of scared, because obviously it's not a news you take lightly, because, you know, like, what if I went home for Christmas, you know, and at the end of it, you know, and stayed for a couple more weeks, like, what do I do then, you know, because you never know if you can come back in this country at this point. So obviously, like, I'm sure people like the people actually affected are really scared, and I'm sure like a lot of athletes are very, very scared of what's going on, because, you know, like, the countries affected, I believe, you know, like mostly are in the Middle East, and there's a lot of sports going on, like especially like soccer, and they're like low like basketball leagues that a lot of players travel for. Like there's not, you know, like it's not really nationals. Like people come from all over the world to play in those smaller leagues because they're not good enough to make it to the NBA, for example. So I just hope everyone gets to go back home or go wherever they want to, like, because I don't want, you know, like an American athlete to be stranded in the Middle East if there's a war going on there, and, you know, and all they wanted to do was, all they were doing with it was their job, and, you know, it'd be a shame if anything happened to these guys.
Wow, that's a lot of information to take in, Louie. Well, you know, thank you for joining us today, Louie.
No problem.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Moving on to the national sports scene. On Saturday, Serena Williams defeated her sister, Venus, in straight sets at the Australian Open final. It marked the 23rd Grand Slam title of her career.
I feel like this is my first Grand Slam started here, and getting to 23 here, but playing Venus is another, it's stuff that legends are made of, you know. I couldn't have written a better story.
On Sunday, Roger Federer defeated Rafael Nadal in a 5-set thriller to capture his record 18th Grand Slam title.
It's definitely very special. I said that also before the finals. If I were to win against Rafa, it'd be super special and very sweet, because I haven't beaten him in a Grand Slam final for a long, long time now. Last time, I guess, was 2007 at Wimbledon in a 5-setter, and now I was able to do it again.
Moving back stateside, the NHL All-Star Game and skills competition took place over the weekend at the Staples Center in Los Angeles. The Metropolitan Division All-Stars topped the Pacific Division 4-3.
Well, we started the show with a familiar face to the Grand Rapids area, so it only makes sense to end it with one as well. This Friday, students had the opportunity to attend a discussion with John Keating, an alumnus of GVSU and currently a host for Fox Sports Detroit. He gave valuable career advice and also shared stories of his time starting out at Channel 13 and at GVSU's student radio station.
The radio station, I melen, just the fraternity that we had, the collegial atmosphere that existed. You know, I was telling Len this story, that we had the general manager, the one who sort of took me under his wing when I started, you know, on a Tuesday, said to me, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Nothing, I got no more classes." "All right, let's go." And so we went to the Adobe, when the Adobe was a thing in downtown Grand Rapids, and had, you know, beers and, you know, chips Tuesday, 3:30 in the afternoon. And I thought, man, this is so adult. I mean, at this point, I'm 19, really, and you really hadn't done that. But this was a guy who saw something in me and sort of put his arm around me. One of my Channel 13 stories here is I'm anchoring on the weekend, and longtime Detroit anchor was, I mean, we had great people come out of there. Guy Gordon and Barry Conway went to have great success in Detroit, but we anchored together in Grand Rapids when we were kids. And at the time, and this will be true for all of you when you get your first job, you will look at work as not just a place to launch your career, but going to work is a place that you meet before you go out for beer. That's pretty much what it became, at least for us. We were all 20-something, and, you know, and we would get together and talk about what was in the show. And at the time, you would eat dirt to be on TV. And you guys will probably have to go through this too. But if you have the passion It's like, it doesn't matter.
A career in sports broadcasting also means having relationships with players from the teams you cover. This is something Keating said is a priority to him as he shared stories of his banter with athletes such as Justin Verlander.
Verlander will go anywhere with an interview. Always wants to make sure his teeth are, he has no food in his teeth before he starts an interview. That sort of, he'll give me the look. Any junk in my teeth? No, we're good to go, JV. So.
You can find the full Q&A on our Facebook page.
That concludes tonight's show. Thanks for tuning in.
Be sure to tune in every week for news on Grand Valley sports, athletes, and national stories. For After the Whistle, I'm Maitland Moselle.
And I'm Patrick Mast.